What I'm going to talk about is the moment where I didn't do inflatables. As we learnt more about the process, I could really see that dip moulding was going to complement inflatables really well. These are called Mr. and Mrs. Prickly. He picked up and said, oh my God, it looks like a policeman's helmet. We've got to do this, it's so cool. Thousands and thousands of different products. There's still so much to be done here, so watch this space. So I'm going to contradict myself now. In 2007, I was sitting in a restaurant in Bergamo and I realised the whole of my life would be about inflatables. But I'm not going to talk about that now. What I'm going to talk about is the moment where I didn't do inflatables. So I set about a project with some designers in London looking at the concept together of like, what could we do if we were going to create a range of plastic products that weren't inflatable but adopted a new process. And during that work, one guy, a guy called Steve Bretland, actually suggested dip moulding as a process. You basically have you create a tool that you heat up and you dip the tool in a liquid plastic for say 10 or 15 seconds, then you lift it up and it's very viscous like honey, and then you take it up and the drips stop dripping, and then you move it into an oven and you bake the outside. So the inside is cooked to the warm tool, and then the outside is baked from the outside. So the plastic solidifies from the inside to the outside. Typically the products that it was used for was for handlebar grips. So when you see shiny handlebar grips on a bus or something that's plasticky, that's probably been dip moulded. The other great thing with dip moulding is while the tool's still hot, while the mould is still hot on the tool, it's very elastic. So you use an air gun to blow it off the tool. You mould it and then you inflate it. So there is a bit of inflation in dip moulding. I hadn't really thought about that. There is inflation. You inflate the mould off the tool. There you go, we're fine, it's still inflatable. What I loved about it was that you have this really lovely outside finish. So even if the tool's rough, the outside always looks smooth. Because I always say, if you dip your crinkly finger in honey and pull it out, it's always lovely and smooth, and that's what dip moulding does. As we learnt more about the process, I could really see that dip moulding was going to complement inflatables really well. We made a full commitment to develop a whole range of inflatable products. I have a couple here that just to show what we did. So these are called Mr. and Mrs. Prickly dip moulded salt and pepper pots, and there is a metal mould, a bit smaller than this. These dip into the plasticizer. This is, I take these off, these bits we added. But this is the mould. So the metal would dip in, then we would blow this off, and you'd be left with this object. We'd cut the end off, so you've got a hole for the salt to come out of, or in this case, 3 holes for the pepper. And we put a little cap in here, and you've got a plastic moulded product. So instead of injection moulding it and the cost of that, we've got a very analog process to make a very funky product. And inside, the surface of the inside isn't perfect because that's touching the tool, but the outside is super shiny and lovely and smooth because there's no actual tool in touching it. So this was a very simple observation. I remember when I designed this one, I just sketched it really quickly, and this is why it's wonky, because when I sketched it, the top was wonky, and when I got it drawn up, I said, look, I want it drawn up exactly as I drew it. I want the wonkiness. And I like these were reminiscents of the drip, so the drip was controlled there. So this was a cool one, and was actually a very successful seller. This we did as well, which is a sunglasses case. And you can see this is the departure from the Inflate. This actually looks kind of inflatable. This is looking a little bit more refined in a way. It's got a lovely feel to it, very soap-like. But you have this kind of squeeze it in and put your sunglasses in there. Let's see if these fit. Well, these are big glasses, but basically you could put your glasses inside, take them out, and everything else. And you got the little drip on the end here, so it dipped in like that, and then you blew it. You only had this tiny slot at the top, and then when you inflate it, it blows up and comes off the tool. And this one was sandcast, so inside is much rougher. But it doesn't matter because you can't see it. It's only if you put your fingers in you can feel it. But I love, years ago you used to get these little wallets which had a metal clasp here you squeeze. And I like the fact that we had this observation of that system here. This one is called Digital Grass. And this was done by a designer called Mark Garside for us. And it was very nice. The tooling was really fascinating. It was all laser cut or CNC cut pieces of metal and sections that we bolted together. But there were gaps between everything because the gaps allowed the plastic, where the molten plastic went between it, it would actually create the full product. So I love this in as much as the tooling was like, because it's a negative of this, it was actually had gaps in it, but the moulding brings it all together. And, you know, I suppose everybody looking at this can immediately understand what this is. This is clearly a toast rack. So you put your toast in here, or you put your letters in here, or your desk tidy objects in here. So it's a little object to hold toast or desk tidy or something like that. And the other thing with this, when we did it, all of these pieces were different. So we had, in production, I think we made 60 tools like this, but they were all different. So when you bought them, if you bought 4 or 5 of them, you could never find 2 the same. It was really hard to actually match them up. So it was like a mass-produced product that everything was different, which was actually quite cool. But then where it gets quite interesting with the dip moulding is when you see what you can do, the potential of the market and what you can do with it becomes really huge. You know, we ended up developing a dip molded shoe. So, you know, we've been in fashion with inflatables, and this was a shoe design that we worked on. And we worked on one with Michiko Kashino, and we worked on this one with pod shoes and a little molded shoe, so the sole and everything was together. You have to realize this is a long time ago, and techniques now in production, the sophistication of what you can do now is way more advanced. But I love the analog nature of this, the fact that you're just dipping a piece of aluminium and you're creating this mold. There's still so much to be done here, so watch this space. You know, when we work with Habitat, we developed a whole load of products for them, particularly using the dip moulding. We did medical pots and a thing called a soap lounger. And I love this plunger. The single, it's a double dip. So you dip it once in this translucent, and then you dip it a second time in the color. So you have these 2-tone products, and the handle is a bit more rigid. And you got this funky little plunger, which was really cool. So the sucker thing is the product, so it's all one piece. But I like that as well as a thing. The double dip is really cool. And then there was a real spin-off where this was in the age of CDs, and we ended up working on a dip molded CD cover for the Super Furry Animals, and we've been working on this design with Creation Records at the time. And they were kind of excited about, you know, what this could be. There was a lot of questions about were they going to do it or weren't they going to do it. And then the Super Furry Animals came into the studio, and we did them in different colors. We had a yellow one, a blue one, and a black one. And when they came in, the black one was on the side, the black test. And I can't remember the lead singer's name, but he picked it up and said, "Oh my God, it looks like a policeman's helmet. We've got to do this. It's so cool." And so the fact that they saw a black one that looked like a policeman's helmet was the sign-off point to make a CD cover dip molded. And this was great. We did a huge volume of these, and this was their their CD cover rollout. Dip molded, Super Furry Animals CD cover. It's kind of crazy. And then again, going back to the fashion thing, I met Craig Morrison, who is famous for designing, if any of you went around London in the 80s or 90s, spiky rubber bags made of latex. He invented the latex spiky rubber bag, and you see people with rucksacks and all these spikes off the back. I met him, and I could see what he was doing with that, and he was creating these molds out of latex. And I was like, well, look, I'm doing these molds out of plastic rubber. Can we, should we collaborate? You've got your range. I'd like to do something more pod-like. And so we collaborated on these range of rucksacks and satchel bags and all sorts of other things using dip moulding. And so here was the first, for me, another crossover where we created the mould and the tooling for the plastic, and then developed with him how we could sew and create the zips and the rivets and everything else to turn this into a rucksack product. And this was good. We ran with these for a good few years and very popular. And again, another product where I think there was so much more mileage than we ever gave it credit for, but it was a good, fun thing. The story and us as product designers and what I was doing, I was super excited about all these processes. There's just so much we could do. And I'm only showing the tip of the iceberg here. You know, for 10, 20 years, we've produced thousands and thousands of different products that are, well, not thousands of different products, probably hundreds of different products, thousands of units, and or tens of thousands of units. And yeah, so I'm very kind of, as I sit here now, actually really interested to think, should I do more with this? Huh? Do you want any close-ups of those? You got all of them?